Today I'm starting my most ambitious playthrough of Project Zomboid to date. While many players decide to only have a character survive for a month or two, this one has the goal of lasting much longer than that, as in hundreds of days longer than that. But if my character dies at any point, the run is over and will be lost forever. So strap in and follow along as my long-term permadeath survival begins. Spawning in Muldraugh is something relatively new to me, but I was happy to see I spawned at one of the houses on the eastern outskirts. As I don't have any traits to assist with strength or fitness, I have to pick my fights very carefully, as provoking a large zombie horde will end the run before it even really begins. I didn't really like the spawn house, so I packed up what I could and headed next door while clearing out a few of the undead outside. I decided to make this my starting base that could be converted into a secondary base for Muldraugh once the mega base across town is constructed. I began sorting what is currently in the house to plan out where all the future loot would go when returning from looting runs. In this small neighborhood, there should be enough food and supplies to sustain me for the first couple of weeks. Zombies were starting to show up outside, and I was concerned that I may start to get overrun if I'm not careful. One by one, I cleared out a few of the shamblers and was lucky enough to find a red airdrop from the onset of the outbreak. If I get bitten and infected, this will give me one chance to cure myself before the infection takes hold. I was getting tired and thought I would do a short workout to finish up the day, content with the first day's progress. I wasn't able to sleep very well, so I woke up really early and got a jump start on the day. I cooked some breakfast and decided to start my looting runs to the nearby houses. A small horde stood in my way, but they were easily dispatched with the meat cleaver I had found to be used as a weapon. I was able to find keys to one of the crashed vehicles, but it was in too poor condition to start up. I would need to find a vehicle in better condition if I wanted to use the full tank of gas that was left inside. Adding to this, one of my base windows was randomly broken by a zombie. Weird that I didn't hear any noise from it trying to break in. I headed north across the street and was able to find a solid amount of food and supplies. I also decided to take a bottle of gasoline and an alarm clock with me if I found a working vehicle or if a zombie horde becomes too big to take out. I'm hoping that the noise from the alarm clock will distract the horde long enough for me to make my escape. Even though I have a propane grill in the backyard, I went to grab a charcoal grill from the house next door and continued working my way up the north street. After a couple more trips, I cleared out the house to the north. Rounding out the day, I read magazines that I had found up to this point and did a little exercise before having a quick supper and heading off to bed extremely tired. Starting day 3, I was sore from my exercising in the days prior, so I needed to choose my fights carefully as my combat effectiveness is reduced. I went to clear out the backyard shed and took out a few Zeds in the process. I was able to find 2 empty gas cans, so I went to siphon the remaining gasoline from the yellow car I found earlier. This should be enough gas to hold me over until I can make a run to a gas station to fill up the first working car that I find. There's only 14 units of fuel, but I'm not planning on driving all over town yet. I need to clear out a large enough area around this base to avoid bringing a large horde back here. I remembered I have some painkillers I can take to remove some of the negative side effects of the pain moodle, and after taking them, I gained the confidence to clear out some more of the surrounding area. I was able to find some good loot at the next brick house up the street, including tools, books, and of course, some more food. That's all of the houses on my spawn street, so I went a little further to check near Courtman Medical to find a trailer and an officer of the law with a .38 Special and a SPAS 12 shotgun. I don't plan on using guns anytime soon, but it's still a great find nonetheless. After encountering some resistance on the way back to the base, we sorted out the haul and had a bite to eat before turning in for the night. Day 4 had a 4:40 a.m. start, which meant we were destined for a productive day. I headed back down to the medical center, cleared out some zombies, and looted all of the medical items in the doctor's office and the apartment above. By 9 a.m., I was back with some items that may come in clutch later in the playthrough. I needed to rest a bit before going back out, so I thought reading would be a good way to pass the time. Now that my street was generally free from loot and the undead, I can start working on the adjacent street. I became extremely tired during the next couple of runs it took to get the loot back, but we have another house complete. More zombies were dispatched in the next house on the following day, and I found another propane tank for my grill. After sorting out this heavy load, I didn't want to risk getting caught while tired, so reading would be how the remainder of my day was spent. To be honest, I feel like this first week is a little less productive than usual due to the more cautious playstyle I have on this playthrough. Normally, I like taking both the strong and athletic traits to have an easy start, but for this one, I've decided to start with an absolutely base character without traits. I didn't even select a profession. I have 3 more houses to clear on this street, and I chose to start on the northern one, which would be the furthest of the 3 from my current base. I hit a stroke of luck with not only finding a vehicle key inside of the house, but the car is in good enough condition to be used as a reliable form of transportation. I headed back to bring my gas over and secure my first car of the playthrough. I also noticed that the fencing around this group of houses would provide a great perimeter once I block off the roadways with some walls and gates to keep the hordes out. I even have easy access to wood with the forest that's just outside the fence by the base. After catching up on some more skill books, day 6 had come to a close. Day 7 was the day I noticed the water had already been shut off. It's a relatively early timeline, to be honest, but the bigger concern is the electricity going out. Finding a generator has now increased in priority, as I still have some perishable food I'd like to eat before dipping into the canned and non-perishable stuff I've already found. Needing to drop your plans because of a low food supply can really hinder a run, especially early on. On a positive note though, the next house down the street had some wooden crates to help alleviate my limited storage space back at base. The shed out back also had a generator, meaning all I needed was the How to Use Generators magazine, and I would still have power once it was shut off. Of course, I will need some more fuel, as I only have a small amount from that Mercedes I found, but fuel is easier to find than a magazine. I will say, despite the slow start to the first week, the second half really picked up. All we really need now is a magazine and some more fuel before we can comfortably start expanding out into the rest of Muldraugh and hopefully begin laying the foundation for the mega base build on the west side of town. I'm sure that much worse and better days are in store for me here, not only in Muldraugh, but all over Knox County, including Louisville. The best way to stay informed on the remainder of this series is, of course, to hit the subscribe button and turn on your notifications. Thanks for watching, and I wish you all the best on your own trips through Knox County.